Hello, I'm Bruce Fretz, and I'm here to introduce John David Washington.
Thank you, thank you.
So, as some people here may or may not know, this is not your first Spike Lee joint.
That's right, I'm a veteran.
You were in Malcolm X when you were how old? 9?
6.
6. What do you remember about that? You say, "I am Malcolm X" into the camera, right?
Yeah, it was a very important role. It kind of glued the whole movie together. But no, I remember just being on set, and it wasn't planned or anything. I think Spike came up to I was sitting with my mom in Video Village, asked if I wanted to be in the scene. I was like, "Mom, can I?" I'm like, "Yeah, go." So, and he kept saying, I was excited, obviously, and he kept saying, "Listen to Uncle Spike. You're gonna sit. When I say action, you're gonna get up and say the line." So I just did it. We did about 7 times. We finally got it once I got warmed up.
So, how does it feel now to be starring in a Spike Lee joint all these years later? Is it full circle, or is it? Could you have foreseen this at the time?
I mean, yeah, I have since grown as an artist since then, and now knowing that I'm such a I mean, obviously, this is a dream come true, a role that you wait your whole career for. So I wouldn't have done this for anybody else but a Spike Lee with this subject matter and how sensitive it is, and I think he's a master of tone. So to be a part of this, I just to be a part of the Spike Lee Hall of Fame is just the biggest blessing ever.
So, how did he approach you? How did he ask you to take on this role?
So like I was doing another film in Cincinnati, and I get a text like, "Yo, this Spike called me." I was like, I mean, we knew each other and stuff, but not via text, not via cell phone. So I was like, it was worth investigating though. So, I mean, I might as well see. Like, "Hello, yo, this Spike, where you at?" I'm like, "I'm in Cincinnati. How you doing, Spike Lee?" "Yeah, listen, there's a book I want to send to you, BlackKklansman. The first black African-American police officer in Colorado Springs infiltrates the Ku Klux Klan." I was like, "What?" For sure. Well, send it. You know what I'm saying? So he sent it. I read it. I called him back like, "I can't believe this happened. This is so crazy, man. Like, what?" He was like, "You like it, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I like it. I bet. See you this summer." That was it. That's how I got it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, what was your reaction? I mean, were you overwhelmed? Were you excited? Were you scared? All the above?
All the above. I mean, I just to be in a Spike Lee joint. You know what I mean? This subject matter. I went to historically black college. I went to Morehouse College, class of '06, and this story slipped through the cracks. I never heard of this one before. So I've been an opportunity to tell a piece of American history, led by Spike Lee, who understands the culture all too well. I just think it was a dream come true. I was through the roof. I was over the moon, whatever the phrases are. I mean, I loved it all. I mean, I was into it, and I mean, this was just the biggest blessing.
So, what kind of research did you do beyond reading the book? I know you spent some time with the real Ron Stallworth. I mean, you really do a vocal impression of the real Ron Stallworth. I've heard him on the radio, and you're doing Ron Stallworth.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I was the first, couple months, Spike didn't even let me talk to him. He didn't give me a number or nothing. He didn't want me, so I was just doing all on my own from the book, obviously, and then just online stuff and stuff I can see on YouTube or whatever. But really, what I started to get into was the music. I rid myself of all hip hop and R&B. From my diet for like 3.5, 4 months, 3 months really. It was nothing but 60s and 70s music, nothing but documentaries. I saw a wonderful documentary, the Black Panther mixtapes. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with that. It was incredible, a documentary on the movement. And I just wanted to know what me, John David, would have been like in the 70s, late 60s. What would I have been listening to? What movies I would be going to see? What would I be wearing? So I just started that. I just wanted to get the foundation of those times and what it was like first. And I think Spike knows what he's doing because I didn't talk to him until like a couple days before the table read. So we're talking about Ron Stallworth. Yeah. And it didn't, and he kept saying he's not the Bible, John David. He's not the Bible. In other words, you don't trust your instincts. I know you're gonna do the work, all the research, but the hardest part, the biggest part, the most important part of that process is to let it go and to blend it, put it all in the gumbo.
Wow. So how would you describe Spike's style when you're actually shooting? I mean, does he talk to you a lot? Does he leave you alone? I mean, you hear different stories about different directors, you know.
Yeah. Now it was I've never been in an environment like this before. It was one of inclusion. It was one of confidence and trust, and you needed to be on your job. You had to earn your license to create freely and to try things. And what I mean by that is if you're on it, because we might have something scheduled a week later, a scene, and he'll add it after lunch. So you just better be on it. And if you're on it, it's the most freeing experience you'll ever have, at least from an actor's perspective. I mean, he was super encouraging. He didn't tell me what to do. He never suggested a way of doing or trying things at all. Never happened to me before. I mean, that's what you call trust from this legend. He's trusting you with this information, with this material. It was so encouraging, gave me confidence that I didn't realize I needed. You know, and what it enabled me, what it was able to, what I got from it was I was able to think about nothing but the moments. I got to exist in the reality of the situations, you know, scene to scene. I have to think about anything else. Like, oh, here comes, you know, when Scripty comes around the corner, like, oh, I messed up a line. Doesn't matter. Everything, don't get it right, get it true. You know what I mean? And that, to me, was it was super liberating.
I would imagine you have to have a great trust in him, too, because as you mentioned, he's a master of tone. And this movie has some pretty wild tonal swings in it. You know, it's a buddy comedy, and then it's very serious, and then it's a musical. You know, I mean.
It's a music, right. Yeah, La La Land, right?
I mean, how did you kind of monitor yourself in terms of that? Did you just trust him to kind of like, you know, modulate you in terms of where you were on that spectrum of different feelings?
Well, no, again, that's why I said before I couldn't have done this for any other director, because I know he is a master of cinematic tone. You know, this subject matter is so tender. It could be brutal if we're going for this comedy, you know, anecdotal thing. I played it. Adam played it. Everybody played it as honest and true as possible. I mean, the hilarity of this is rooted from its truth. It really happened. So, yeah, this is freaking ridiculous what we doing, but, like, it happened.
Yeah.
And so you play the moments accordingly. You know, you exist with your partner, with the actors, with your everybody. You just exist. Be it. You know what I mean? And that to me was, again, so refreshing. You know, I most certainly definitely didn't think it was a comedy. I think there was humor, and we're laughing at very uncomfortable things. But, I mean, there's a message here, obviously, as you see, but the package and delivery of that message was entertaining. Yeah. And to me, a great night at the cinema is I laughed, I cried, I yelled, I was turned on, all of those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you and Adam Driver are so great together. I mean, did you achieve that by spending a lot of time together off camera, or spending no time together off camera, so you just saved it for the takes?
Right. No, I mean, in my mind, we're best friends. I don't know if Adam feels the same way, but that's my dog. I mean, to me. But you know, what was interesting? What was working in the film? Like, I have huge respect for Adam. I think he's one of the great actors, you know, right now. And I felt like I just kind of kept trying to earn his trust. Like, you can trust me. You can trust me. And I think that was happening here. And then when it was clicking, it was clicking. But he's so present. If you can't come with anything false, and he's looking right, I feel like he's looking right through my soul when he's looking with every take. So I'm like, I'll even I'll cut it myself. Like, let's do it again. I was lying. You're right, Adam. I was like, I didn't say anything, John David. No, you said it. I'm lying. Don't worry about it. It's cool. Let's go again. Spike, you want to go again? You know what I'm saying? So that's what I loved about it. He was so present. But everybody, Laura, Topher. I mean, that role for him.
Yeah,
you know, Corey Hawkins. I mean, we're talking about some great Paul. You know, I think we some great performances, but I think everybody felt the same way in that we were just in line with such truth. You know, and how we approached we were trusted. Yeah. We all felt that way.
You mentioned that, you know, you were sort of trying to earn Adam's, you know, respect in a way. I mean, it's interesting that, you know, you've come a very long way in a fairly short time. You know, from starting out acting to playing the lead in a major motion picture. Did you draw on some of that insecurity to play this role? Because in some ways your character is you know, new to this situation as well.
No, I didn't think about. I mean, I'm a strong believer in art, in imitating life art, but that's a dimension I didn't tap into for this specific project. No, but I guess that is a parallel.
Yeah. And did you keep your distance from Topher on the set, or?
No, I loved it. I'm again a fan of him too. You know what I mean? And yeah, he's great. I mean, I love the man. And no, I didn't like even all method. Like in fact, it was kind of the opposite, especially the banquet stuff. We had to tell jokes and like laugh and sort of get ourselves out of this reality because see, we're so embedded in it when they yell action. But again, that's credit to Spike Lee creating an environment to where we can explore, and fertilize truth. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't happen. It was egoless set. You know what I mean? So that's what bonded us all together, knowing that we were in this space together. But no, we had to joke around and be as silly as we could in between time because of what we had to do.
Right. So what would you say your biggest challenge was in taking on this role?
I guess some of the low-hanging fruit of like what's funny, moments, beats. I've been directed before. The funny part is, can you be bigger on this part? Like all of that stuff I had to throw out. I had to just live in the reality. And really, I say the hardest part, I kind of said it earlier, was throwing everything away that I studied, throwing everything away that I learned from even going back from my lessons at HB Studios. I had to kind of throw it all away and trust that's all embedded. That's in my DNA. That's what I've been repping it all the time. So it'll be there. So with the combination of that and what's happening in the moment, that's when the sort of explorative magic happens. But it's hard. It's difficult because you're in your head like I gotta. Where am I going? What do I want? All that kind of stuff. But like, no, it's gonna happen. Just listen, and you'll get the answer.
So what was the most fun day on the set, and was it what you expected it to be? And was there a day you were looking forward to, like, I can't wait to do this scene, and then when you did it, it really was everything you hoped for?
Yeah, I can definitely answer that. Definitely. I didn't know the last scene that you see Ron and Patrice in, I didn't know that was happening until, like, the last week of shooting. Because there was no dolly, double dolly pull, like, yo, come on, Spike, what's up? And I kept asking, like, when we going to do the thing? The double dolly, what's good? And so he calls me. It was like 2 days before that day. He comes up to me like, I know where we're going to put the shot at. And he just walks away. I was like, yeah! So that day, the last scene when you see us doing this, it was a tough day for him because I was like a little kid. I was actually even I wasn't even as mature as I was on Malcolm X. I was just going crazy. Like, Lord, look, we're doing it right now. Spike was like, yo, can you, John, he kept calling me John. John, focus. I'm like, no. This is awesome. So it shouldn't have taken as long as it did, but I was going berserk because it's like the historic moment. That's the Spike Lee moment. Right. So that's the most fun day I had. For real, that was dope. I loved it.
So when did you know that you wanted to be an actor? I mean, was it something that came to you early, or was it something that came to you after athletics had kind of run its course?
Nah, my father did Shakespeare in the Park when I was 5 years old, Richard III. And I know how he talked at home, and then I saw how he talked on stage. Damn, it was like magic, like, voila, Yeah. And my mother, she could sit down and play any number of Beethoven or these famous pieces without looking at any music. They've been doing this their whole lives. Well, at least my mother has. She was teaching piano lessons at 10, 11 years old. My father had been studying. So I was into the process, not necessarily the result of whatever fame or popularity gets from works. I didn't know much about that, but I did know about how they prepared. My father would walk me around the streets of New York reciting that now is the winter of our discontent. And, he would just do, and I was into it. I used to giggle, do it again. Like, I loved it, So I knew then. But what was happening is, as he became successful and in ascension into the business, people started treating us differently. And I built up a resentment. I built up this protective wall, the shield of like, well, I'm my own person too. So that's how I found athletics. It was sort of my rebellious quest of independence. It was positive though, because I put it into something that could work for my benefit. Yeah. And I'm glad I did it that way because so many life lessons I've learned that I apply from football to now to this medium.
Can you share a few of those?
Yeah, I mean the ultimate concept of teamwork, from the catering to the executive producers of the movie. Everybody's just as important. And I can't stand when, sometimes artists forget that. They lose sight of that. They think it's only them. It's because of my voice, this movie. That is not true. We need everybody. You know what I mean? In football, if one person messes up on the field, you're not gonna have success on the play. you know. So I just think it's so magical. It's so beautiful. It's so spiritual when everybody's on the same page trying to achieve the same thing. And that is, in our business, to display the truth, the honesty, and what people are going through daily. This is a privilege what we get to do. This is the greatest job in the world. So that, to me, is just worth fighting for, always.
Absolutely. So, who were your role models as an actor growing up, aside from the obvious ones that were in your house?
I mean, Andre Brower. I love. Obviously the Sam Jacksons of the world, Brent Jennings. You know, Alfre Woodard is one of the greatest actors of all time. I think she can do anything. I don't know. I love directors like Ed Zwick, though. You know, I love Tony Scott. You know, to being able, when I see, I love Kevin Costner. Any of the Ninja Turtles are some of my inspirations. I mean, all of that. I mean, it's just a very wide palette. You know, just what I used to feel in the movies. You know, when I used to watch these movies, I just used to lose myself into these characters. So it's a form of escapism, or we can truly identify with somebody we saw on the screen. And that's been, I don't think about that when I'm filming and shooting, but I do hope that somebody can experience that with a film that I've been a part of, because that's what happened with me.
Mm-hmm. So at what point did you start seriously studying acting? I mean, was it when you were at Morehouse, or was it after college? Or?
So middle school, I went to Crossroads Middle School, and I was acting, directing, editing, all films. I was doing it then, student films, and then I transferred schools and just became this huge jock. And then I kind of let it alone. So I didn't get back into it until I got hurt. I tore my Achilles, and he's like a family friend who was my agent, Andrew Finkelstein. While I was on a lot of medication, told me to go audition for a show about football players. Yeah. And I was like, nah, I want to go study first. I want to go learn. And he was like, no, you're going to go, fail, get told no, and learn what it's like to audition. You're not going to get this part at all. In fact, you just need the experience. I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that. I've been told no in football a whole bunch of times, so that's cool. I know what that feels like. So here I am on crutches and a boot on some very strong doctor-prescribed medication, and I won the room. 10 auditions later, I got the job. So we did the pilot, but then I moved here to live with my sister, and I studied at HB Studios. Rochelle Oliver, who is my mentor, I actually just talked to her the other day. That is my home, and that's where I try to get back to every time I'm off, and that's sort of where I learned.
And that show would be Ballers, correct?
That would be Ballers,
yes. Yes. So on that show, you're working with Dwayne Johnson, who also used to be a football player and has become rather successful as an actor.
Yeah, he's doing well. Doing well.
Have you learned anything from working with him that you've been able to apply to your own process?
No matter how big you get, I mean, not actually physically, but no matter how high or whatever your ascension is in this business, however popular you get, it's still about the people. You can still be a person, a man of the people, and that's what he is. He seems to still care about the people, and he still seems to do it for them, and I admire the man for that, because he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to give his time. As charitable as he is, he doesn't have to be, and he is.
Yeah. And you've been doing some other films lately, too. I saw you the other day in The Old Man and the Gun.
Well, if you blink your eyes, you saw me. Missed him.
Playing another police officer.
Yeah.
And I also saw you in Monsters and Men, playing another police officer. This is like the police officer phase of your career that you're going through.
It was that season. It was the season for. No, but let me go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please. I was just going to ask you how it felt different to play, these different types of roles, but the same profession.
I'm so lucky that to be on those three sets: Ronaldo, Marcus Green, David Lowery, Spike Lee. Let me say this though. It was such a blessing to be able to explore the plight, the I don't know, the focus, the point of view of the African American police officer, which is really misunderstood or unknown in cinema. I was ignorant to it until I did my research, until I got to go on ride-alongs, and it changed my life. It changed my perspective. I mean, they're human beings too, and I think there's a scene in the film, like, just because he doesn't, there's multiple lanes and vehicles for justice and truth and being of the people. for your people. And I think a lot of times African or men and women of color that are protecting and serving don't have the platform to express those things, and I felt like it was a great opportunity to be a part of whatever with the social narrative right now with this injustice with police officers, but there's some actual police officers that are doing the right thing. It's such a thankless job as well, so a guy or a woman or man that is doing a great job that day wearing the uniform might not get the credit. I might get more credit than they portraying that person. So at least if they see this film, they start thinking, well, maybe there are some good ones, or I didn't think about what they had to think about before. I should take a moment of pause and be more specific about my arguments. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you get to spend any time around Redford on the Old Man on the Gun set? You don't really have scenes with him per se, right? But was he?
You would have called me out on that. Yeah, definitely did, but I definitely went to go see him. No, I was on all my off days. I mean, it's a master class. And Tom Waits, too, what they were doing, man, was like crazy. And Danny Glover, they would like tell these stories. Like they're setting up, Black Final Touch is just telling stories. And David, the director, was brilliant. He just said action. They're still telling stories, but then I'm like, wait, is this the characters or is this them? And it taught me how relaxed you should be. How comfortable you should, that you got to earn that, though. You got to be able to do your research and make sure you know what you're doing. But they've been doing it for so long, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But they were just so relaxed and just lived in the space. It wasn't action. No, they were living in the space the whole time. And I was just like, dang. So like I asked Mr. Redford, I just, I done the Sundance Labs. I got to hear him speak. They showed one of his films. What's the one where he's the reporter and All the President's Men. Thank you. And he is the first time he saw it in 30 years. Yeah. And he did a Q&A. He's never done that before since it. And he was just saying just how simple it is. Like he just simplifies the process. Like you just. You research, you earn, like I keep saying, you got to earn the right to ad-lib and exist in the space by doing your research, then literally let it go. Mm-hmm. He kept talking about that, the balance of letting it go, and even how he's choosing his films, stuff that speaks to him, filmmakers that seem to have the same enthusiasm as he is about making these movies and sharing the opportunity to share, to display these stories. And that saying, that rang so true to me because that's how I feel.
And speaking of legends, one of the things that I love about this movie is BlackKklansman as you're watching it, and then all of a sudden Harry Belafonte shows up.
Right? Like
what?
Yeah. So I was already wrapped. It was like literally the last day of shooting, and Spike made everybody wear suits. Women had to wear dresses and heels. Men had to wear suits. The cast, crew, everybody. Right. So it was my day. I was done, but I rushed to Zara to get a suit. That morning, like I was like waiting on them to open up. Like I need a suit right now. Taylor, you need Taylor? No. Measurements are fine. So I'm over here like a little big suit, and watching this man. It was like Redford too. Like when they yell action, the magic. It was like that. The guy we grew up watching, like it just turned on. It was amazing. It was magic. Literally, like it was a magic trick. And I'm just like I'm a part of history right now. This moment alone, and a great feeling I must say is when I got to see him at the premiere. And he said, "Yeah, you did a great job, kid." I was like, I'm like, cool. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's, so, to say that I was in his movie, because that's what I'm going to say. I was in his movie. Right. Is great. It's the best.
Yeah. So a couple questions that we ask everyone here at the SAG-AFTRA Foundation. Maybe you've already answered this, but do you remember what role got you your SAG card? Was it Ballers or?
Yeah, it was. It was Ballers.
Do you remember what the feeling was like to be joining the union?
Can't wait to pay these dues, baby. I made it. I can pay the dues now. Yeah, that was it. No, it was great to be, obviously to be a part of this nation of actors and nation of artists that really care. Just to be a part of it, to be accepted. It's great.
Yeah. And another question that we ask everyone is, what's the best piece of advice you've gotten from another actor that you can pass along to these actors?
I've gotten a lot. This is do less. Do less. Calm down. Do less.
Do you remember who told you that? Or?
A couple of people, actually. Definitely not gonna tell you who, but do less. Cool. I was like, got it.
So you may find yourself in the awards race this year. I have a feeling. That's something that you've seen from the outside a few times in your life, I'm guessing. How do you feel about possibly being a part of it yourself? I mean, do you think about it? Is it something that crosses your mind from time to time?
You know, I'm rooting for Spike Lee. You know, I really, you know, I hope it happens for him. You know, we're standing. People of color, men and women of color, in this business are standing on his shoulders, and he's accomplished so much. He doesn't need it for any kind of validation, but he's definitely earned it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm campaigning. I'm championing him for sure.
Yeah. We only have a few minutes left, but I have a few questions from the audience I wanted to get to. This is a question from Bill. What was your favorite location shoot that you've ever done?
Ever done?
Yeah.
It's Miami. You know, I'm single. You know what I'm saying? So.
And that would be for ballers.
You would, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yes.
That's right. Good, clean family fun, good restaurants. You know, I found a church home out there. It was all good.
Here's a question from SJ. In what way has this film changed your perspective on the Ku Klux Klan and race relations in general?
That we might have been asleep in the previous administration. That how well-oiled machine that is, how institutionalized hate is, how it's such a learned and organized way of being and thinking in this country, and it's sad that I mean, this is learned behavior, and I am, due to my research, I'm seeing all the resurgences that they've had. So what's happening now has happened before. You saw it in the film too. Birth of a Nation gave him a resurgence. David Duke gave him a resurgence. Whoever you think is giving them a resurgence now is giving them a resurgence. So this is history repeating itself, for sure.
Well, it's a powerful movie and a powerful lesson and a powerful performance. So thank you so much for coming here and
Thank
talking
you.
to us.
Thank you, everybody.